3 years of silence ended with the sharp slap of papers hitting the mahogany table. Charlotte stood frozen in the center of the living room, her hand still damp from scrubbing the floors of a mansion she wasn't allowed to call home. Pascal didn't even look up from his scotch as he delivered the final blow. "Sign the papers, Charlotte. I need a wife who can help my career, not a maid who embarrasses me." His mother laughed in the corner, clutching her pearls. They thought they were discarding a peasant. They had no idea they were declaring war on the owner of the very empire that kept their family from bankruptcy. The checkmate was coming, and it would be brutal. The grandfather clock in the hallway of the Ashford estate chimed 7 times, the sound echoing off the cold marble floors like a judgment. Charlotte wiped a bead of sweat from her forehead with the back of her hand, careful not to streak the flour on her cheek. The dinner roast, a recipe she had spent 4 hours perfecting, was finally ready. "Charlotte, where is the wine? Honestly, you move slower than a tortoise." The shrill voice of Victoria Ashford, her mother-in-law, cut through the humid air of the kitchen. Charlotte took a deep breath, composing her face into a mask of polite submission before picking up the decanter of 2015 Cabernet Sauvignon. She walked into the dining room, her simple grey dress starkly contrasting with the opulent surroundings. The room was a museum of old money pretension, velvet drapes, crystal chandeliers, and a long oak table where the Ashford family held court. Victoria sat at the head of the table, her face pinched with perpetual dissatisfaction. Beside her sat Chloe, Pascal's younger sister, who was currently busy scrolling on her phone, ignoring the world. And there, at the other end, was Pascal. He looked handsome in his tailored navy suit, the kind that cost more than most people's cars. But his eyes, once warm during their brief courtship, were now hard and distant. He didn't acknowledge Charlotte as she poured the wine. To him, she had become nothing more than part of the furniture, a slightly malfunctioning appliance that he regretted buying. "The roast is a bit dry, isn't it?" Victoria said, after taking a single bite, dropping her fork onto the china with a loud clatter. "I told you to baste it every 20 minutes. Can you not follow simple instructions?" "I did, Victoria," Charlotte said softly. "I followed the recipe exactly." "Don't talk back," Chloe snapped, not looking up from her phone. "God, Pascal, why do we still have her around? My friends are coming over for drinks later, and I don't want them seeing her. She looks like she crawled out of a dumpster." Pascal sighed, swirling the wine in his glass. "Just go back to the kitchen, Charlotte. We'll call you when we're ready for dessert." Charlotte felt a familiar stinging sensation behind her eyes, but she refused to let the tears fall. 3 years. She had endured this for 3 years because she believed in the vows she had taken. She believed that love was about patience and sacrifice. When she met Pascal, he had been charming, seemingly different from the arrogant elites she dealt with in the business world. He had seemed humble, but the moment the ring was on her finger, the mask had slipped. The Ashfords were land-rich and cash-poor, desperate to maintain appearances in high society while drowning in secret debts. They needed a scapegoat for their stress, and Charlotte, an orphan with no apparent family background or connections, was the perfect target. She retreated to the kitchen, the swinging door muffling the sound of their laughter. She leaned against the counter, her hands trembling. Her phone buzzed in the pocket of her apron. It was a secure line. She pulled it out. The caller ID read, "Jared, executive assistant." "Yes, Jared," she whispered, her voice shifting instantly from the meek housewife to something colder, more authoritative. "Ma'am, I have the acquisition reports for the new tech merger in Silicon Valley." Jared's voice was crisp. "The board is waiting for your signature. Also, the Ashford Group has submitted another loan application to our subsidiary, Apex Capital. They are asking for another 5 million to cover their losses in the logistics sector. How should I proceed? Charlotte looked through the crack in the door. She could see Pascal laughing at something Chloe said, a relaxed, carefree smile on his face that she hadn't seen directed at her in years. "Hold the application, Jared," Charlotte said. "Don't reject it yet. Just let it sit in pending. I want to see how tonight goes." "Understood, Mrs. Ashford. I mean, Ms. Vance. Oh, sorry, force of habit. Boss." "It's fine, Jared. I'll call you later." She hung up and began plating the dessert, a creme brulee that Victoria claimed was her favorite, though she never finished it. Charlotte was the majority shareholder of Titan Global, a conglomerate that quietly owned significant stakes in real estate, tech, and banking sectors across 3 continents. She was worth billions. She had hidden her identity to find someone who loved her for her, not her portfolio. She had found Pascal, and tonight she was beginning to realize that the investment was a total loss. The atmosphere in the dining room had shifted when Charlotte returned with the dessert tray. The air was thick, charged with a tension that made the hair on her arms stand up. The laughter had died down. Pascal was no longer eating. He was staring at the tablecloth, his jaw set tight. Victoria was smiling, but it was a predatory smile, the kind a shark gives before it drags a seal under. "Put the tray down and sit, Charlotte," Pascal said. His voice was devoid of emotion. Charlotte placed the tray on the sidebar and took the seat usually reserved for guests, creating a distance between them. "Is something wrong, Pascal?" "Wrong?" Chloe scoffed. "Finally, something is going right." Pascal reached into his briefcase, which sat by his feet, and pulled out a thick brown envelope. He slid it across the polished wood. It stopped inches from Charlotte's hand. "I'm filing for divorce," Pascal said. He didn't stutter. He didn't hesitate. It was a business transaction to him. Charlotte stared at the envelope. She had expected this day might come, but hearing the words out loud felt like a physical blow to the chest. "Why?" she asked simply. "Look at you," Victoria interjected, waving a diamond-encrusted hand in Charlotte's direction. "You don't fit in, dear. You never have. We gave you a chance. We took you in from whatever gutter Pascal found you in, gave you a roof, gave you a name. And how do you repay us? By being utterly mediocre." "It's not just that," Pascal said, finally looking her in the eyes. There was no pity there, only annoyance. "I have a reputation to uphold, Charlotte. The company is going through a critical phase. We are trying to secure a partnership with Titan Global. I need a wife who can navigate those circles. Someone with class, someone with assets." Charlotte almost laughed. The irony was so sharp it could cut glass. He was divorcing her to impress her company. "There is someone else, isn't there?" Charlotte asked. Pascal straightened his tie. "Tiffany Dubois. Her father owns the Dubois hotel chain. She understands my world. She can help me secure the funding we need." "Tiffany?" Charlotte repeated. She knew the name. The Dubois chain was currently being investigated for tax fraud, though that news hadn't hit the public wires yet. "So you're trading me in for a business deal?" "I'm trading you in for a future," Pascal corrected. "You've been a burden, Charlotte, a dead weight. I need to fly." "And the house?" Charlotte asked, looking around. "I've put my own money into the repairs here. The garden, the kitchen renovations." "Pocket change," Chloe sneered. "You think your little waitressing savings count as contributions? Please, this is an Ashford estate. You get nothing. The prenup you signed ensures that." Charlotte remembered the prenup. She had signed it willingly to prove she didn't want their money. She didn't need their money. But they were using it now as a weapon to leave her destitute. "Here is the deal," Pascal said, tapping the envelope. "You sign tonight, you pack your bags, and you leave by tomorrow morning. In exchange, I will give you a check for $10,000, enough to get you started in wherever people like you go. A trailer park, perhaps." "$10,000, Charlotte said quietly. "For 3 years of my life." "Take it or leave it," Victoria said. "Honestly, it's charity." Charlotte looked at the three of them. The arrogant mother, the spoiled sister, the treacherous husband. They looked at her with such absolute certainty of their superiority. They truly believed she was powerless. Slowly, Charlotte reached for the envelope. She didn't open it. She just held it. "I'll sign," she said. Pascal exhaled, a sound of relief. "Good. At least you're sensible." "But," Charlotte added, her voice hardening, "I won't be leaving tomorrow morning. I'll leave tonight." "Even better," Chloe muttered. Charlotte stood up. She didn't scream. She didn't throw the wine in Pascal's face, though the urge was strong. She simply turned and walked toward the stairs. "Oh, and Charlotte?" Pascal called out. She paused on the first step. "Leave the jewelry I bought you, the necklace. It's too valuable for you to keep." It was a generic gold chain worth maybe $500. Charlotte reached behind her neck, unclasped it, and dropped it onto the floor. The metal clinked against the marble. "Keep it," she said without looking back. "You're going to need every penny." She went upstairs to the guest room she had been sleeping in for the past 6 months. She didn't pack clothes. She didn't pack the toiletries. She reached under the mattress and pulled out a small black burner phone and a black titanium credit card, the Centurion card, but a tier higher, invite only, reserved for the 0.01%. She dialed a number. "Jared," she said, "I'm leaving the estate. Send the car, the rolls, not the ghost. Send the phantom." "Right away, ma'am." "Location?" "The front gates of the Ashford estate." "And Jared?" "Yes, boss." "Cancel the loan application for the Ashford Group and tell the legal department to prepare a hostile takeover of their logistics division. I want to own their debts by Monday morning." "With pleasure." Charlotte hung up. She walked to the mirror and wiped the flour off her cheek. She took her hair down from the messy bun, letting it cascade over her shoulders. The submissive housewife was dead. The CEO of Titan Global was clocking in. The heavy iron gates of the Ashford estate grew smaller in the rear-view mirror of the Phantom, disappearing into the mist of the late evening. Inside the cabin, the silence was absolute, save for the soft hum of the engine and the clink of crystal as Charlotte poured herself a glass of sparkling water. She didn't touch the champagne. She needed a clear head. "Where to, Ms. Charlotte?" Jared asked from the front seat, his eyes watching her carefully through the rear-view mirror. He had served her father before her, and he was the only one who knew the toll the last 3 years had taken on her. "The penthouse at the Meridian," Charlotte replied, leaning back into the hand-stitched leather seats. "And Jared, contact the legal team. I want the divorce proceedings expedited. Give Pascal exactly what he asked for. No alimony, no contest. Let him think he's won." "Understood. And regarding the hostile takeover of Ashford Logistics?" "Execute Phase 1, Charlotte said, her voice turning icy. "Buy their debt from the secondary lenders. Don't make a move on the board yet. I want to hold the leash before I choke them with it." She looked down at her cheap grey dress, the fabric worn thin at the elbows. "And stop by the boutique on 5th. I need to burn these clothes." 3 days later, the mood in the Ashford mansion was jubilant. The divorce papers had been signed and processed with record speed. Pascal Ashford sat in his father's old leather armchair, a cigar in one hand and a glass of brandy in the other. "I told you she wouldn't fight it," Victoria said, arranging flowers in a vase near the window. She knew her place. Trash always knows when it's been taken out. It was almost too easy, Pascal admitted, though a flicker of unease passed through him. Charlotte had disappeared so completely. No phone calls, no begging for money, no scenes. It was as if she had evaporated. "Who cares?" Chloe chirped from the sofa. "She's gone. And look what arrived this morning." She held up a heavy, cream-colored envelope with gold embossing. It was the most coveted piece of stationery in the city, an invitation to the Titan Global Annual Gala. Pascal sat up straighter, his eyes widening. "Let me see that." He snatched the envelope. "The board of directors of Titan Global requests the pleasure of Mr. Pascal Ashford and family." "This is it," Pascal breathed, a grin spreading across his face. "This is the lifeline. Titan Global never invites mid-tier firms like ours unless they're interested in a partnership. They must have heard about the merger with the Dubois family." "It's Tiffany," Victoria declared proudly. "Her family's influence is already opening doors for you. If you were still married to that cleaning lady, we'd be blacklisted. This proves you made the right choice." Just then, the doorbell rang. The maid, a new hire, far less efficient than Charlotte had been, hurried to answer it. Tiffany Dubois swept into the room in a cloud of expensive perfume. She was a striking woman, blonde and sharp-featured, but her beauty was marred by a permanent expression of disdain. "Pascal, darling," she exclaimed, kissing him on both cheeks. "Daddy just told me the news. We're going to the Titan Gala. Do you know how hard it is to get tickets? Even senators beg for them." "We received a personal invitation," Pascal boasted, waving the card. "Perfect," Tiffany purred, linking her arm through his. "This is our night. I heard the CEO of Titan Global is finally going to make a public appearance. No one knows who it is. Some say it's a reclusive tech genius. Others say it's foreign royalty. Whoever it is, we need to charm them. If we get Titan's backing, the Ashford Group will be untouchable. And the Dubois hotel chain will be saved from its current complications," Pascal added delicately. Tiffany's smile faltered for a fraction of a second. "Exactly. We're a power couple now, Pascal. No more dead weight." Victoria clapped her hands. "We must go shopping. We need to look like royalty. If we are going to court billionaires, we must dress the part." As they celebrated, drinking expensive champagne they couldn't actually afford, none of them noticed the red light blinking on the security system panel in the hallway. The feed was being routed directly to a server in the Meridian penthouse. Charlotte sat in her home office, watching the three of them on a high-definition monitor. She wore a silk robe, her hair freshly blown out, her skin glowing from days of spa treatments she had denied herself for years. "Enjoy the champagne, Pascal," she whispered to the screen. "It's the last thing you'll ever celebrate." The Grand Oak Haven Hotel was a fortress of luxury. Its ballroom was legendary, a cavernous space of gold leaf, velvet, and enough crystal chandeliers to light up a small city. Tonight, it was the epicenter of the business world. Limousines lined the block, depositing billionaires, celebrities, and politicians onto the red carpet. The Ashford family arrived in a rented limousine, trying to mask their awe with practiced indifference. Pascal wore a tuxedo that was slightly too tight around the shoulders. Victoria was draped in furs despite the warm evening, and Chloe wore a neon pink dress that screamed new money in a room of understated elegance. Tiffany was on Pascal's arm, wearing a silver gown that plunged aggressively low. "Shoulders back, everyone," Victoria hissed as they entered the ballroom. "Act like you own the place." The room was buzzing with low conversation. Waiters in white gloves moved silently through the crowd with trays of hors d'oeuvres that cost more than a mortgage payment. In the center of the room, a live orchestra played classical music. "There's Gregory Titan," Pascal whispered, pointing to a grey-haired man near the bar. "He's the CFO. I need to talk to him." "Wait," Tiffany said, scanning the room. "Don't look desperate. Let's get a drink first." They made their way to the bar, but as they turned near the VIP section, Pascal froze. Standing near the balcony doors, laughing softly at something a tall, distinguished man had said, was a woman. Her back was to them, but the curve of her neck, the way she held her head, it felt hauntingly familiar. She was wearing a dress that seemed to be made of liquid midnight, a deep, shimmering blue that hugged her figure before cascading to the floor. Diamonds glittered at her throat and ears, stones of such size and clarity that they caught the light from across the room. "Who is that?" Chloe asked, staring. "That dress is—" "Wow." The woman turned. Pascal dropped his glass. It shattered on the marble floor, champagne splashing onto Tiffany's silver shoes. "What the hell?" Tiffany shrieked, jumping back. "Pascal, look what you did!" But Pascal couldn't hear her. He was staring at the woman in the midnight dress. It was Charlotte. But it wasn't the Charlotte he knew. This woman stood tall, radiating a terrifying kind of confidence. Her makeup was flawless, highlighting eyes that looked sharper than he remembered. She wasn't looking at the floor. She was looking at the man next to her, Arthur Pendleton, the governor of the state, as an equal. "Is that—" "The maid," Victoria gasped, clutching her pearls. "It can't be. Look at her." "It is her," Pascal stammered. "But how? Why is she here?" "She must be crashing," Tiffany sneered, recovering from the shock. "Or she's working. Look, she probably seduced one of the old men here to get a ticket. That's what women like her do when they're desperate." "She's wearing a necklace worth $500,000, Chloe noted, her voice trembling with jealousy. "That's not a rental." "It's a fake," Victoria snapped. "Cubic zirconia, come on. We're going to put a stop to this. She is not going to ruin our night with her presence." Driven by indignation and the terrifying thought that their discarded trash was outshining them, the Ashford clan marched across the ballroom. Charlotte saw them coming. She didn't flinch. She simply took a sip of her water and continued listening to Governor Pendleton. "So the infrastructure bill will need private sector support, Charlotte. We were hoping Titan Global would lead the initiative," the governor was saying. "Well, well, well." Victoria's shrill voice cut through the conversation. The governor stopped mid-sentence, looking annoyed at the interruption. Charlotte turned slowly, her face an unreadable mask of calm. "Hello, Victoria," Charlotte said smoothly. "Pascal." "Chloe." "Don't you hello me," Victoria hissed, stepping into Charlotte's personal space. "What are you doing here? Did you sneak in through the service entrance? Who are you trying to scam?" "I'm here for the gala, just like you," Charlotte replied, her voice steady. "Like us?" Tiffany laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "You are nothing like us, sweetie. You're a divorcee with a high school diploma and $10,000 to your name. You don't belong here. You're embarrassing yourself." Pascal stepped forward, his face red. "Charlotte, leave. Now. Before I call security. I won't have you clinging to me, begging for more money in front of my associates." Charlotte raised an eyebrow. "Begging? I haven't asked you for a thing, Pascal." "You're breathing my air," Pascal spat. "You're trying to make me jealous. It won't work. I'm with Tiffany now, a real woman." Governor Pendleton cleared his throat loudly. "Excuse me," he said, his voice commanding. "Is there a problem here?" "Yes, Governor," Pascal said, switching instantly to a sycophantic tone. "I apologize. This woman is a former employee. She's mentally unstable. We were just asking her to leave so she doesn't disturb the guests." The governor looked from Pascal to Charlotte, a look of profound confusion on his face. Employee? Unstable? It's fine, Arthur, Charlotte said, placing a gentle hand on the governor's arm. They are confused. It's a common affliction in their family. Confused? Victoria screeched. She turned to a passing security guard. You. Yes, you. Take this woman out. She's soliciting guests and has no invitation. The guard, a massive man named Donovan, who had been head of Charlotte's personal detail for 5 years, stepped forward. He looked at Victoria, then at Pascal. His expression was one of stone. Is this man bothering you, ma'am? Donovan asked, looking directly at Charlotte. Pascal blinked. Excuse me? I am the one giving the orders here. I am Pascal Ashford. She is nobody. Donovan ignored him. Ma'am. It's all right, Donovan, Charlotte said coolly. Let them stay. I want them to see the presentation. I think they'll find it educational. As you wish, Donovan said, stepping back but keeping a threatening glare fixed on Pascal. You know the guard? Pascal asked, his confidence shaking. Did you sleep with him too? Charlotte laughed. It was a dark, genuine laugh. Oh, Pascal, you really have no imagination. Suddenly, the lights in the ballroom dimmed. A spotlight hit the main stage. The chatter died down instantly. A voice boomed over the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the board of directors of Titan Global. A group of 6 men and women walked onto the stage. The Ashfords watched, mesmerized. Where is the CIO? Tiffany whispered. I need to see him. And now, the announcer continued, the chairman and CEO of Titan Global, the architect of the Future City project. Please welcome. The spotlight began to sweep the room. She's probably hiding in the bathroom by now, Victoria sneered, leaning toward Charlotte. You should run while it's dark. Charlotte didn't answer. She simply set her glass down on a passing waiter's tray. The spotlight swept across the crowd, past the governor, past the senators, and stopped. It stopped directly on Charlotte. The room erupted in applause. Pascal froze. His brain couldn't process the image. The light was blinding him, but he could clearly see Charlotte standing in the center of the halo. What? Pascal whispered. Why is the light on you? Move out of the way. I can't do that, Pascal, Charlotte said. Her voice was soft, but in the silence of their immediate circle, it sounded like a gunshot. Why not? Tiffany demanded. Charlotte smiled. Because they're waiting for me. She took one step forward, leaving the stunned Ashford family in the shadows, and began to walk toward the stage. The applause grew louder, a thunderous roar of recognition and respect. No! Victoria gasped, clutching Pascal's arm so hard her nails dug into his skin. No, no, no! It's a mistake! It's a prank! But as Charlotte ascended the stairs to the stage, the giant screen behind the podium lit up with a massive portrait. It was Charlotte's face, and underneath, in bold 10-foot letters, Charlotte Sinclair, CEO, Titan Global. Charlotte reached the podium. She looked out at the sea of faces, found the pale, terrified faces of the Ashford family in the crowd, and leaned into the microphone. Good evening, she said. Tonight we talk about the future, and how we leave the past behind. The applause that filled the grand Oakhaven ballroom was not just polite clapping. It was a thunderous wave of adoration directed at the woman standing on the podium. Charlotte stood bathed in the spotlight, her posture regal, her expression serene. She waited for the noise to die down, her eyes scanning the crowd until they locked onto the terrified cluster of the Ashford family near the back. Pascal felt as though the floor was tilting beneath his feet. He couldn't breathe. The woman he had treated like a servant, the woman he had scolded for buying the wrong brand of butter, was the most powerful person in the room. "Thank you," Charlotte said, her voice amplified and crystal clear. "For years, Titan Global has operated from the shadows. We believed that true power didn't need a face. But I learned recently that silence can sometimes be mistaken for weakness. I learned that if you stay in the shadows too long, people begin to think they can walk all over you." A ripple of laughter went through the crowd, assuming she was making a corporate metaphor. But Pascal knew. Victoria knew. The color drained from Victoria's face, leaving her looking skeletal and old under the harsh ballroom lights. "Tonight," Charlotte continued, "we are announcing a strategic shift. Titan Global is aggressively acquiring distressed assets in the logistics and hospitality sectors." She paused, taking a sip of water. "Specifically, we have identified several companies that are managed with, let's call it, arrogant incompetence. Companies that rely on image rather than substance. We intend to clean house." Pascal's phone buzzed in his pocket. Then it buzzed again, and again. Beside him, Tiffany's phone began to light up. Around them, other guests checked their devices, whispers breaking out like wildfire. "Oh my God," a man standing near them whispered, looking at his screen. "Titan just executed a hostile takeover of the Ashford Group's primary debt holders. They bought the notes at full value. They own the Ashfords." Pascal scrambled to pull his phone out. His screen was filled with notifications from his board of directors, his bank, and his legal team. Alert. Titan Global has triggered the immediate repayment clause on our operational loans. Alert. Stock price plummeting in after-hours trading. Alert. Liquidity crisis imminent. "She's killing us," Pascal choked out, staring at the stage. "She's not just giving a speech. She's executing us live on stage." "Do something," Victoria hissed, grabbing his lapel. "Go talk to her. She's your wife." "Ex-wife," Chloe corrected, her voice trembling. "He signed the papers yesterday. We have no leverage. We have nothing." On stage, Charlotte wrapped up her speech. "Enjoy the evening, everyone. And remember, never underestimate the value of what you have until it's gone." She stepped down from the podium. Immediately, she was swarmed. Senators, tech moguls, and oil tycoons surrounded her, eager for a handshake, a smile, a moment of her time. "I need to get to her," Pascal said, pushing through the crowd. "She still loves me. I know she does. This is just a tantrum. I can fix this." He shoved past a waiter, nearly knocking over a tray of champagne. He reached the edge of the VIP circle, sweat pouring down his face. "Charlotte," he screamed over the din. "Charlotte, honey, it's me! It's Pascal!" The crowd parted slightly, not out of respect, but out of second-hand embarrassment. Pascal looked deranged, his tie crooked, his face flushed, desperation oozing from his pores. Charlotte turned. She looked at him with the same detached interest one might show a stray dog barking at a passing car. Two massive security guards stepped in front of Pascal, blocking his path. One of them was Donovan. "Let me through," Pascal demanded, trying to sound authoritative but failing miserably. "I am her husband." "Her ex-husband," Donovan corrected, his voice a low rumble. "And you are not on the list, Mr. Ashford. In fact, Ms. Sinclair has given specific instructions regarding you." "Sinclair?" Pascal blinked. "Her name is Vance, Charlotte Vance." "Vance was her mother's maiden name," Donovan said. "She is Charlotte Sinclair, only daughter of Robert Sinclair. You really didn't know who you were married to, did you?" The revelation hit Pascal like a physical blow. The Sinclairs were old money, real money, the kind of money that built railroads and bought countries. He had married American royalty and treated her like a peasant. "Charlotte, please!" Pascal yelled, trying to peer around Donovan's massive shoulder. "We need to talk. I made a mistake. The divorce papers. I didn't mean it. I was stressed." Charlotte signaled for Donovan to step aside. The crowd went silent, watching the drama unfold. She took 2 steps toward Pascal, stopping just out of arm's reach. "You didn't mean it?" Charlotte asked, her voice calm but carrying to the onlookers. "You didn't mean it when you told me I was an embarrassment. You didn't mean it when you handed me $10,000 and told me to go live in a trailer park?" Gasps rippled through the elite crowd. People whispered, eyes widening. The social humiliation was total. I was joking," Pascal stammered, his face burning. "It was a test, to see if you were tough enough for this world." "I am tough enough, Pascal," she smiled, ice in her eyes. "But you aren't. I suggest you go home. You have a busy morning ahead of you. My auditors will be at your office at 8 a.m. sharp to begin the liquidation of your assets." "Liquidation?" Pascal fell to his knees. "No, Charlotte, please. That company is my legacy. My father's legacy." "Your father was a good man," Charlotte said coldly. "He wouldn't have raised a son who treats people like disposable objects. You lost his legacy the moment you let your mother and sister treat me like a slave in my own home." She turned to walk away. "Wait." Tiffany Dubois suddenly shoved her way to the front. She looked at Pascal on his knees, then at Charlotte. Her survival instincts kicked in. "Miss Sinclair!" Tiffany cried out, flashing a dazzling, fake smile. "I just want you to know I had no idea. Pascal told me he was single. He lied to me too. I am a victim here." Pascal looked up at Tiffany, betrayed. "Tiffany, what are you doing?" "Shut up, loser," Tiffany hissed at him. She turned back to Charlotte. "My family's hotel chain. We would love to discuss a partnership with Titan. We have nothing to do with the Ashfords. In fact, I'm breaking off the engagement right now." Charlotte looked at Tiffany, amused. "Tiffany, didn't you hear? Titan Global isn't partnering with the Dubois chain." Tiffany's smile faltered. "What?" "We're auditing you too," Charlotte said casually. "Your father has been cooking the books to hide his gambling debts. The SEC has already been notified. I believe the raid is scheduled for— Oh, right now." As if on cue, Tiffany's phone rang. She looked at the screen, saw her father's name, and turned pale. "Security," Charlotte said softly. "Remove this trash from my gala. They're cluttering up the room." Donovan and 3 other guards moved in. They grabbed Pascal by the arms and hoisted him up. They took Tiffany by the elbow. Victoria and Chloe, trying to sneak away near the exit, were intercepted. As the Ashford family was dragged out of the ballroom, kicking and screaming, the orchestra began to play a waltz. Charlotte turned back to her guests, raised her glass, and smiled. "Shall we dance?" she asked the governor. The morning sun hit the glass facade of the Ashford Group headquarters, but inside, the atmosphere was dark. It was 8:05 a.m., and the lobby was already swarming with men and women in dark suits carrying briefcases. They wore badges that read, "Titan Global, Audit and Compliance." Pascal sat in his office on the top floor, staring out the window. He hadn't slept. He was still wearing his tuxedo from the night before, the collar unbuttoned, the tie missing. Victoria sat on the leather sofa, weeping into a handkerchief. Chloe was pacing the room, frantically trying to call her friends, only to find that she had been blocked by everyone. The social excommunication had been instantaneous. "Stop crying, Mother," Pascal snapped, his voice hoarse. "It's annoying." "How dare you!" Victoria wailed. "This is your fault. You couldn't control your wife. If you had just kept her happy, we would be billionaires right now. We would be flying on private jets. Instead, they are towing my Mercedes." "You told me to divorce her," Pascal shouted, slamming his hand on the desk. "You told me she was trash. You treated her like a dog. The roast is dry, Charlotte." "Where is the wine, Charlotte?" You pushed her away. I was trying to maintain standards, Victoria shrieked. The office door burst open. Jared, Charlotte's executive assistant, walked in. He didn't knock. He was followed by 3 lawyers and a forensic accountant. "Good morning," Jared said cheerfully. "Mr. Ashford, Mrs. Ashford, please, remain seated." "Get out of my office," Pascal growled. "I still own this building." "Actually, you don't," Jared corrected, placing a document on the desk. "As of 7:30 this morning, the bank exercised its right to sell the mortgage on this property due to the default on your operational loans. Titan Global purchased the deed. You are currently trespassing." Pascal picked up the document. His hands shook so hard the paper rattled. It was true. He was evicted. "We are also freezing all personal accounts associated with the company directors," Jared continued. "That includes you, Victoria, and you, Chloe. The company credit cards have been cancelled." "You can't do that," Chloe screamed. "I have a hair appointment at 10. I need to pay for it." Jared looked at her with genuine pity. "Ms. Ashford, I don't think you understand. You don't have money for a haircut. You don't have money for a cab. Unless you have cash in your purse, you are effectively destitute." "This is illegal," Pascal muttered. "I'll sue." "With what money?" Jared asked. "And besides, we found the hidden accounts in the Caymans, Pascal. The ones you used to siphon company funds to pay for your gambling. That's embezzlement. We're handing the files over to the district attorney this afternoon. Unless..." Pascal looked up, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "Unless what?" "I'll do anything. Unless you sign over your remaining voting shares to Ms. Sinclair, voluntarily, full surrender. If you do that, she might convince the DA to be lenient regarding prison time." "Prison?" Victoria gasped. "My son can't go to prison. He has asthma." "Then he should sign," Jared said, sliding a pen across the desk. Pascal looked at the pen. It was a cheap plastic one, not the gold fountain pen he usually used. Even the stationery was mocking him. He thought about Charlotte. He remembered the nights she had massaged his shoulders when he was stressed, the way she had listened to him complain about business, offering quiet advice that he had ignored. She had been the perfect partner, and he had been too blind to see it. Does she hate me?" Pascal asked quietly. Jared's expression hardened. "Mr. Ashford, hate implies she has emotional energy invested in you. She doesn't hate you. You are a line item on a spreadsheet that she is correcting. Nothing more." That hurt more than the anger. Indifference was the ultimate insult. Pascal picked up the pen. He signed the papers. "Excellent," Jared said, snatching the documents back. "Now security will escort you out. You are not permitted to take any company property. That includes laptops, phones, and... That watch, Pascal." "My watch." Pascal covered his wrist. "This is a Patek Philippe. It was a gift." "Bought with company funds 3 years ago." Jared checked his clipboard. "Asset number 402. Hand it over." Reluctantly, Pascal unclasped the watch and handed it to Jared. "And the pearls, Victoria," Jared added. "You monster!" Victoria cried, clutching her neck. "Security!" Jared called out. 2 guards entered. 10 minutes later, the Ashford family was standing on the sidewalk outside the building they used to rule. It was starting to rain. Pascal stood in his tuxedo, soaked instantly. Passers-by looked at them, a man in a tux, an old woman in furs, and a girl in a party dress, standing on the curb with nothing but a box of personal trinkets. "What do we do now?" Chloe asked, her mascara running down her face. "Where do we go?" "We go to the apartment," Pascal said. "The small one in Queens, the one Dad bought for storage." "Queens?" Victoria horrified. "I will not live in Queens." "It's that or the shelter, Mother," Pascal snapped. Just then, A sleek black Rolls-Royce Phantom pulled up to the curb. The window rolled down. It was Charlotte. She looked dry, warm, and impossibly elegant in a cream-colored business suit. She looked at the three of them, shivering in the rain. Pascal stepped forward, hope flaring one last time. "Charlotte, did you come to save us?" Charlotte lowered her sunglasses. She looked at Pascal, then at the building behind him, which now had workers removing the Ashford Group sign. "I just wanted to make sure the building was cleared," she said. "I'm turning it into a shelter for at-risk women. I think it's poetic, don't you? A place where women who have been mistreated can find their power again." "Charlotte, please," Pascal begged, rain dripping from his nose. "I have nothing. Give me a job. Anything. I'll sweep the floors. I'll drive the cars. Please." Charlotte looked at him for a long moment. There was no triumph in her eyes, only a weary finality. "You had a job, Pascal," she said. "Your job was to be a husband, and you were fired for gross incompetence." She pressed a button, and the window rolled up. "Drive," she told the driver. The car splashed a wave of dirty puddle water onto Pascal's tuxedo trousers as it pulled away, merging into the traffic of the city that Charlotte Sinclair now owned. Pascal watched the taillights disappear. He turned to his mother and sister, who were arguing over who was to blame. He realized then that his hell wasn't just poverty. His hell was being trapped with the two people who had helped him destroy the best thing that ever happened to him. "Come on," Pascal said, picking up the wet cardboard box. "Let's go to the subway." "Subway?" Victoria shrieked. "Yes, Mother," Pascal said, looking at the formidable skyline where his ex-wife sat on a throne. "Welcome to the real world." 6 months had passed since the rain-soaked eviction of the Ashford family. The world of high finance had moved on, churning through news cycles and scandals, but for Pascal Ashford, time had become a slow, grinding punishment. The Ashford estate was now the Sinclair Foundation for Women, a sanctuary for those starting over. The irony was not lost on Pascal as he adjusted his cheap polyester bow tie in the employee locker room of L'Oubli, a mid-tier French bistro in downtown. He wasn't the owner. He wasn't a patron. He was a junior waiter. His mother, Victoria, was currently living in a state-assisted nursing facility, her mind having snapped under the pressure of poverty. She spent her days telling the nurses she was the Duchess of York. Chloe had moved to the Midwest with a truck driver she met at a dive bar, desperate to escape the social stigma of New York. Pascal was alone. "Ashford, table 4 needs water. Move it," the manager barked. Pascal flinched. "Yes, sir." He grabbed the pitcher and hurried onto the floor. He kept his head down, terrified of being recognized by former associates. But tonight, fate had one last cruel card to play. Table 4 was the best seat in the house, secluded by velvet ropes. As Pascal approached, pitcher in hand, he froze. Sitting there was Charlotte. She looked radiant, laughing softly at a joke made by a handsome man sitting across from her. The man was Jared, her former assistant. But Jared wasn't wearing a suit of servitude today. He was wearing a bespoke tuxedo, looking every bit the partner he had become. Pascal's hand shook. The water in the pitcher rippled. He wanted to run, but his feet were lead. He poured the water into Charlotte's glass, praying she wouldn't look up. "Thank you," she said, her voice melodic. She paused. The hand holding the glass stopped mid-air. She turned her head slowly and looked up at the waiter. Their eyes met. For a moment, the bistro noise faded. Pascal saw the woman he had married, the woman he had discarded. There was no hate in her eyes. There was something far worse. Pity. "Hello, Pascal," she said softly. The man across from her, Jared, stopped eating. He looked at Pascal, then at Charlotte. "Is this him?" "Yes," Charlotte said. Pascal felt the blood drain from his face. I'm just doing my job, Miss Sinclair. I didn't know you were dining here." "We bought the building yesterday," Jared said casually. "We're celebrating." Pascal swallowed hard. Of course they did. "Pascal," Charlotte said, reaching into her purse. She pulled out a folded piece of paper. It looked old, worn at the edges. "I've been carrying this around, hoping to run into you. I didn't want to mail it to... Well, I didn't know where you were living." She slid the paper across the table. "What is this?" Pascal asked, afraid to touch it. "Read it," Charlotte urged. "It's the final piece of the puzzle. The one thing you never knew about your father." Pascal wiped his damp hands on his apron and picked up the letter. It was written in his father's handwriting, dated 2 weeks before the old man had died, 3 years ago. "To my son, Pascal. If you are reading this, it means the 5-year term has ended. I am writing this because I fear for you. I raised you to value money, and in doing so, I failed to teach you the value of character. You are arrogant, son, and you are weak. I knew the business was failing. I knew you couldn't save it. So, I went to the only man I respected, Robert Sinclair of Titan Global. I made a deal with him. I sold him the majority interest in the Ashford Group for $1 on one condition. His daughter Charlotte would enter your life as a nobody. She would watch you. If you married her, a woman with nothing, and treated her with kindness, respect, and love for 5 full years, if you proved that you could love someone for who they are and not what they have, then the trust would activate. Upon your 5th anniversary, Charlotte was instructed to reveal her identity and restore the company to you, fully funded, with an additional $100 million in capital. She was not your enemy, Pascal. She was your savior. She was the guardian of your inheritance. But if you failed, if you discarded her, then you lose it all. The money goes to charity, and you are left to learn the lesson the hard way. I hope you pass, son. I really do. Dad Pascal dropped the letter. It fluttered to the table like a dying bird. The silence at the table was deafening. "You," Pascal whispered, his voice cracking. "You were the test?" "I was the trustee," Charlotte corrected gently. "I wanted you to pass, Pascal. In the beginning, I really did. I fell in love with the potential I saw in you. But you let your mother and sister poison your heart. You chose status over love. 5 years," Pascal choked out. Tears streamed down his face, unashamed. "I just had to be decent. For 2 more years? You just had to be human," Jared said coldly. "The divorce," Pascal realized with a sickening jolt. "When I handed you those papers, I wasn't just ending a marriage. I was signing away my inheritance, my father's legacy." "You signed it away for $10,000, Charlotte said, "and the approval of a society that never cared about you." She stood up. Jared stood with her. "Keep the tip, Pascal," Charlotte said, placing a single, crisp $100 bill on the table. "I think you need it more than we do." She didn't look back. She walked out of the restaurant, Jared at her side, leaving Pascal standing alone at table 4. He looked at the letter. He looked at the $100 bill. "Ashford!" the manager yelled from across the room. "Stop daydreaming. Table 7 needs bread." Pascal Ashford, the heir who threw away an empire because he was ashamed of his wife's apron, crumbled the letter in his fist. He wiped his eyes, picked up the bread basket, and walked back into the noise of the kitchen, disappearing into the steam and the smoke, a ghost in a life that could have been a kingdom. And that is the story of Pascal Ashford, the man who divorced a billionaire heiress only to find out he was the architect of his own destruction. It's a brutal reminder that how we treat people when they have nothing tells the world everything about who we really are. Pascal thought he was throwing away trash, but he was actually throwing away his own future. What do you think? Did Pascal deserve his fate, or was the test his father set up too cruel? And what would you have done if you were in Charlotte's shoes? Would you have revealed the truth sooner, or let the karma play out exactly like this? If you enjoyed this story of justice and twists, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new drama. Let me know in the comments. What's the biggest instant karma moment you've ever seen in real life? Thanks for watching.